Kane, it's 1-0. We're fucking down. 13th in the championship. The takeover happened as I said it would. People will be. Oh, when have we got Leeds? Oh man, people, I love this from Mike X. Just waiting for Phil and Grant. Oh, we took some stick on that thumbnail, but listen, it is what it is. It's all about interactions. Jay more so than me, which is fine.
There's a reason I don't put my face on thumbnails.
I know, yeah. Thank you for doing it though. It was either you do the angry face or you do the calm down face. Joe went for calm down. I took about 10 takes of me going like this at my camera.
I went outside so the natural light would make my face look better, and it ended up looking worse. So that backfired.
Love it. Listen, folks, please do smash a like on the video. Make sure you check out Jay's channel as well. Jay says more like right, said Fred. We'll take it, man. It is what it is. Yeah, exactly. Please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe to Jay's channel, my channel. Get your comments in. I've started a few already because we'll make this more of an interactive, because I think you all make points good and bad, and we'll have a little chat about it. But the main crux of this video is obviously it is the final countdown, Monday to Thursday now, Thursday at 11 p.m. I know that Jer and myself and many other content creators will be locked in. I know you viewers and Twitter followers will all be locked in, because either positive or negative, something will happen. We could be sat 11 p.m. on the Thursday saying they've fumbled the bag, they've dropped the ball, they've let us down, they've been negligent, or we could be saying, see, told you all, relax. Do you know what I mean? So we'll have to wait and see how that develops. But before we do get into your comments, let's just get Joe, because I've not spoke to Joe for a bit. He's been busy working and that. Talk to me where you're at, Joe, because I'm relaxed and people maybe see it as I'm too relaxed, but I have confidence in the board and Farker and stuff at the moment. So where are you?
Yeah, I'm in a similar place to you, but I should also say, if you're relaxed, then we should all be relaxed, because when you haven't been relaxed, there's been a good reason why you haven't been relaxed. So I would relax, and I would relax because it was said in the summer, judge it at the end of the window. I will judge this at the end of the window. I said this to you before I went live. There is a split in our fan base. There are a portion of our fans who want all of our transfer dealings done early and out of the way, and I'm one of them. So I'm coming at this from a point of view where I would rather have our business done the first week of the window, right? There's another portion of our fan base that no matter what we do during the window, if we don't sign 6 players on deadline day, we'll be on Twitter saying Leeds are doing nothing, blah, 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 crap window, because Leeds haven't been on telly today, right? So it's very possible we'll do all of our business on deadline day, and that will keep that group happy, but everybody else may not be so happy. But the way I'd look at this is, the panic seems to have kicked off because of the Hashioka deal that didn't go through yesterday, and that the Leo Kjelda deal going out today. I'm okay with Leo Kjelda leaving. He had his opportunity at the start of the season. He started 2 games and was whipped at halftime in both games, right? People are saying he had a fantastic loan at Rotherham. Did he? He played 13 games in an entire season. 13 games in an entire season. He was on the bench by the end of his loan, and why did they not try and make that loan permanent or get him on loan again the following year? Because they got somebody else instead. So that's the first thing. There's a cleaning of the deck here. The Daily Mail were invited to Levi Stadium not that long ago, about a month or so ago, to meet with the 49ers and show what their plan was for Ellen Road. And they seem to be the mouthpiece for the 49ers, or at least a trusted source for the 49ers at the moment. And what they said was that there was a big plan in place to give Daniel Farke the squad he would need in the Premier League when Leeds got there. So from what I can see at the moment, there is a massive clearing of the deck happening. There are players that they've looked at, they might be good youth players at this level, but they're not going to progress through into the team for next year. So why keep them on board? You've got Bate, Kjelda, Gelhardt, Greenwood, Moore, and a few others that are Perkins as well, that have gone away, come back, and haven't been great. So I'm okay with that, as long as we bring in the right players. Realistically, Leo Kjelda wasn't in the squad and hasn't been in the squad all season. Leeds put 2 goalkeepers on the bench at the weekend rather than put Leo Kjelda in the side. That has to say something about what he's very at. The last 4 Leeds United managers, which is probably just last season, didn't fancy Leo Kjelda either. So no one's really looked at Leo Kjelda, bar Bielsa. But then also remember, people are saying he came from us to Celtic, from Celtic with a huge, he had a big high ceiling for progression. Celtic let him go to Leeds. Celtic play in Europe. So why would they let a player go who they think has got big potential to a club? Bear in mind, we were in the Championship at that point as well when we signed Yelda. So, and he had a huge injury history at Celtic. He'd been out on loan at Ross. I think it was Ross County. He went out on loan with them as well, and didn't play a huge amount of games there either. So we can say he's got a huge ceiling. We can say he's got great potential, but he's been playing the under-21s for the bulk of this season, and he hasn't progressed into the senior squad even when he got his chance at left back. So now notice that he's playing in the wrong position. The kid's been playing left back since he joined Leeds 4 years ago. So
left back at Rotherham, by the way, as well.
Yeah, exactly the same as well. So I'm pretty calm about this, Joe. I think we need to bring in. I would have liked 3 players in this window. I think 2 does it. I think we need 2 fullbacks realistically, and I'm okay if that's what we do because that frees up Archie to move into the middle of the park. That gives us more options there as well. George is doing a decent job at number 10, so that's fine as long as he doesn't get injured. But I would like to see us strengthen certain areas. Fullbacks are the 2 for me, and there's still time. There is still time.
Yeah. And just to piggyback on what you said there, there seems to be, or I've seen some takes that Firpo has a high ceiling. Again, I disagree. There were takes in the summer in pre-season. Yeah, there were takes during pre-season that this guy should be starting. He was out of position so many times. He just didn't look right there at all. Having spoke to Matt, a Rotherham fan, and those who watch the White Rose Rivals will see he said he is decent, but nowhere near for a team chasing the top 6. And that's Rotherham, who are perennial basement dwellers in this division if they don't get relegated. And he was okay there. And as Joe said, I'm surprised he's even got a move to Sunderland, if you ask me, especially when you consider they have Trey Hume and Niall Huggins. So it can only be a depth option. So he isn't coming to start at Sunderland, I'll tell you that for a fact. So not concerned about that. On the Hashioko deal that Leeds United lost out on, and then the full outrage, caused on the back of that, and people are saying it's spin from the club on this injury. But even if it is spin, whatever, like what I take confidence with, that's what people have told me.
The club haven't said anything, so I don't know what the club are spinning. They've said nothing. The injuries have come from the Belgian media have said the player was injured, and that's why he was out of the squad. So it's not unless Leeds have managed to get some people working under cloaks in the Belgian media out of nowhere all of a sudden, which I would very much doubt. So again, I think it's people looking for something that there isn't there. The player was injured. Do Leeds want to gamble on another injured fullback when they've got injured fullbacks?
Yeah, well, exactly. That's another point, isn't it? But just on that, Joe, just on the right back and the way that developed, no one heard of him 24 hours ago.
I know.
Then about 10 a.m, he's signing for Leeds. By midday, he's on his way to Luton. Today he's signed. What that shows me is how quick that transfers can happen and can unhappen. So my point is that I'm not concerned about that. Yeah, I'm not concerned about that. What I would say, we'll get to that comment, Juan. That's fine. I just think, what's that saying? There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Statistics are there to prove weak arguments. I've been doing a bit of research about this just to put people in the bin, but listen, it is what it is. Right, Joe, there's loads of comments in. Before we get to them, are you confident that Leeds United will see players come in the door? Because I'm confident of 2 fullbacks. I am. I'm still confident of 2 fullbacks. Like yourself, I wouldn't mind another 3. There's still a long way to go. I think the club are active, and I think things will happen. But where's your head at in terms of incomings? If you're a betting man, where are you putting your chips? Are you even betting at all, or are you saying, the odds are too big?
I think we bring in a right back. No. I think we do. I think we have to. Yeah. I think we will. The stuff from Connor Roberts is still floating around. They're saying that Leeds are still interested in the player. Brentford are interested in him as well. The thing with that one is Brentford aren't going to let a fullback go unless they bring in a better fullback. So that's going to have to wait and see what they do first before he becomes available. Same with Ben Godfrey. He's not going to move until Everton get a better replacement at centre back or fullback as well there. So there's the dominoes. If they get their players in thereafter, all of a sudden those 2 become free and available, which could happen in the next 2 days, 2 or 3 days. I think we bring in 2. I think we need 2 minimum. And I think at the start of the window, I said 2 or 4. 4 would be the ideal scenario for me, bringing in 2 fullbacks, maybe an additional centre back, and maybe a 10. Now I'm like, Cressy staying. That's great. I'm a bit more calm about that. We've seen Ethan Ampadu play centre back there as well. There's options there. We've seen Groove come into midfield. So from where we are now versus the start of the window, when we hadn't seen Groove playing, when we only had 3 centre backs, we're in a bit of a better position there already, just by sorting things out and getting players some game time. So I think Leeds do 2. I think they do 2 fullbacks. I think if we get anything more than 2 is a bonus, but I think we do 2. And I think we will do it before the end of the window because Farka has said out loud, we're very light in certain areas.
Yeah, no, yeah, we are. And like you say, if Farka didn't believe that he was going to get bodies, he wouldn't be saying this, because we've seen under previous regimes, when they're told you're not getting a left back, they spin the yarn of, oh, you have a player that can play in that position. Let's not forget, right? And I hate to bring up this man, but he was banging the drum. We've got a meeting with Rads. There's going to be players in the door. They have the meeting. The next press conference, he says, well, I do have Firpo, I have this player, I have even Strout that can play there, because he'd obviously been told, listen, you ain't getting a left back. It's too difficult for us to do. However, Farker's continuously said, yeah, well, it is difficult, but everyone can see that we need players in fullback and other positions. You know, there seems to be little murmurings that we are looking at a centre-back as well, because Strout could be out longer than anticipated, but that's still unconfirmed. But the fact that we're doing that can only be a positive. And I'd be relaxed if we didn't, because they may look at it and say, look, we've got Cooper, we've got Ampadu, we've got Rodon, we've got Creswell. Maybe we just put our eggs in the fullback basket. But the fact they're apparently inquiring about centre-backs shows me that they're going to be active. But let's go to some comments. So smash the like, as I say, Danny Rumsey, smash the like and subscribe. Blinky Fish, no noise coming out of our journal, so things are either very quiet or they're not being told anything. Now, I just wanted to have a chat about this, because a lot of the noise, Jer, is not coming from the UK. It almost feels like the UK-based journalists have been told, you ain't getting nothing these days. And let's be real, that's the way it looks to have gone, right?
Also, and let's not try and, again, I've said this an awful lot this week, we can be very revisionary about our own history at times.
Yeah.
During the summer, we were told the 49ers run a tight ship and they keep things quiet, right? They did that and everyone was delighted. Oh, look at the players we brought in. No fuss, didn't leak, no leaks out of the club. Great stuff. Club being run professionally, blah, blah, blah. Leeds going to get their business done in silent. Players pop up out of nowhere. The Hashioka one's the first one for me that actually felt like a 49ers signing, because it came out of nowhere and was nearly done. And then it wasn't. But that was the first one. You've got agents telling journalists things all over Europe because they want to get their players' names out there to try and encourage moves, to show that there's other clubs interested in them, raise their values, get them more money and deals, whatever else like that. So the fact that it's quiet means nothing. Leeds have brought in a huge recruitment team. And the way I look at this is, we don't need to bring in warm bodies here. We need to bring in people that are going to make the team better. So you need to bring in players that are going to go into the starting 11. If they're not going to start, what's the point in bringing them in for 19 games on loan when they're going to be gone at the end of the season? You know, we need to bring in players. And if we can't get them, I looked at the league tables this morning, where we are currently versus the year we got promoted Bielsa. We have the exact same amount of points at this point this year as we did under Bielsa. The only difference is we were top 10. We've actually got a better goal difference now than we did then. We're plus 24 now. We were plus 15, plus 17 under Bielsa. So from a horses for courses perspective, we're trending in the same direction we did the year we went up. Obviously, you've got Southampton, Ipswich, and Leicester as outliers because of the seasons that they're having. But there's been wobbles there as well from the top 2, right? We're now back within touch and distance of automatics, where I thought we probably weren't going to get that 5 weeks ago. I thought it was gone. Now we're back within touch and distance. We could be in second by the time Southampton and Ipswich kick a ball next week, right? So from that perspective, everything's fine. Everything's fine. There's things about the way we're playing that I don't like, and I've said it out loud. I don't like this dropping off that we do in certain games. It really bugs me. I think we should be more ruthless and killer. I think Daniel Farke should use his bench an awful lot more. I think he should rotate his squad. That doesn't take away from the fact that he's still doing a very good job at the club. You know, I have issues with some things that he does, but that doesn't mean I don't think he's doing a good job and isn't doing a good job for Leeds. So I think we're in our all right position right now. We don't want to sign dead weight. We don't want to waste money on players that aren't going to make an impact, because if they go and do, and let's be honest, the more vocal people on Twitter about this are literally clamoring to sign a player. Not any player, just a player. Just sign, do something, right? And then that player's going to sit on the bench in 2 weeks' time, and then they're going to turn around and go, oh, we bought crap. I can't believe we bought these players. Why do we waste our money on this? You're asking for
Which is what they were saying about Gruyev, by the way.
Correct. Yeah, they're binning him off. And this thing about getting him in the bin, you know, that happens after one bad game. He's been an excellent signing for us. He's had to be patient. He's had to wait his time. But it has to be the right player, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with waiting for the right player. There's been, and I've got something ready for the end of the window, and I hope the window goes the way I think it's going to go. Because especially Team Talk, Football Insider have caused so much panic amongst the fan base because I have 15 separate posts saved from Peter O'Sport over at Football Insider about exclusive deals that Leeds were about to sign that they didn't do any of them. None of them. Not one of them came true. You've got Sasha Tavaleri telling us mid last week Manuel Benson is an exclusive. Manuel Benson is heading to Leeds. He has an exclusive today saying Manuel Benson is heading to Southampton. Which one is it? Which exclusive is which? Is it exclusive or it's not? You're right or you're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah.
So that causes an awful lot of noise in the fan base and panics people as well of going, we're not getting these deals done. We're not getting these deals done. Go back to the summer again to finish with the same point that I started with. Go back to the summer. 49ers do their business behind closed scenes and in quiet. There's no leaks coming out. When the players come in, they'll come in. When they don't, they weren't after them or they weren't interested or they weren't at the level they wanted. Somebody else said to me this morning, we're not bringing any players here because they're not around because Parag was pictured at the 49ers yesterday. Leeds have an entire senior management team and an entire recruitment team being ran by Greta Steinson. There is plenty of people in the club to get these deals done. They don't need Parag.
Yeah. No, exactly. I agree with you. They do not need Parag. Listen, we'll keep your comments coming in, folks. I don't want to answer them straight away, but this, I'm starving them as we go, and we will address them. But just to piggyback again on what Jay said, you've got to remember, folks, there were no links to Ethan Ampadu. There were no links to Joe Rodon. There were no links to Jed Spence. This just happened. Bam, same day, boom, they're on their way. So please have confidence and try to calm down, as the thumbnail says. Manjeet says, let's get it straight. The players have gone. We're nowhere near first team, i.e. Aylin, i.e. Hjelde, which I do agree with. So he says, so really it has no impact. He really doubts we'll get anyone, though. I don't know where that doubt has come from. I think, again, it's this whole thing of like time. We're running out of time. Oh, my God. There's no news. But like Jer's just mentioned, and like I've just meant, we didn't even know we were signing certain individuals when they walked through the door. Alex says, same old story at Leeds United, and if we don't get promoted, then it's down to not investing. 49ers, get your hands in your pockets. Same old story. New regime. They did all right in the summer. Window. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure if it is the same old story. This really thing that's been really bugging me over the last 24 hours, and West Aussie Leeds says it. I'm trying to stay calm, but we're weaker than we were on January the 1st. Now, what you're talking about is being weaker in terms of warm bodies. However, when you deep it and strip it back, right, Aylin wasn't getting in the squad. Leo Hjelde wasn't getting in the squad. And I would argue we're actually stronger from losing Jed Spence because of his stinking attitude, which could only, maybe even turn some people within that setup, and some of the stuff he's apparently missed, then I don't want that guy at this football club. And you say, plus any team chasing honours cannot go into a match in January with two keepers on the bench. Sigh.
We're unbeaten in January, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly, mate. This is the thing. Like,
so
this whole sleep
in January. So from the 1st of January to right now, Leeds have done 4 back-to-back wins in a row, which they've never done before at this point.
Never done. Never, ever, since 1919. Since 1919, it's never been done.
So if we were weaker since January 1st, then surely the results would reflect that.
100%. This is the point. This whole thing of like, that's what I keep thinking of as well, is like people saying the sleepwalking thing. Daniel Farke has broken a record that's never been done before since this club, since its inception in 1919. So over 100 years now, we've never won the first 4 games of a season in January, the start of a year, ever. And he's done that. So this whole thing of us being weaker, I would argue, is wrong. Yes, in terms of numbers, but if them numbers aren't getting used, what's the point in them being there anyway?
Let's not forget, what I would say is our Messiah liked to work with a small squad of 18 senior players, and then the rest of them. You could argue Daniel Farke has probably got 18 senior players, and then the stack of 121s as well. So it's the same situation again.
100%. And what I would say, just in response to, you've said any team chasing honours, there seems to be this rhetoric now coming out that everyone else has strengthened and Leeds United are the only team that haven't made movements. When you actually do some research instead of just saying things out loud, you can see that that's factually incorrect. I think Hull have done the most in the top 10 with 3 bodies in. Outside of that, Leicester, okay, they might confirm Sensi. But what I would say in response to that, they've lost Ndidi for 2 to 3 months. There's still the Dewsbury Hall saga. Casadei's been recalled back to Chelsea, and the numbers underneath that are not of sufficient level, according to Leicester City fans. You can hear it straight out of their mouth. Southampton have signed one, Rothwell from Bournemouth. I mean, I don't know what he's not going to start. I wouldn't imagine. Ipswich have had to make moves because they've lost George Hurst. But yeah, the rest, West Brom, couple here and there. It's not. And again, and a lot of people will say or said to me last night when I tweeted this out, you know, what does it matter what others are doing? Hang on, you can't have it both ways. 1 minute, we're not doing enough and saying everyone else is moving and we're not. And then when you actually say, well, no, we're not, it's like, well, why are you comparing it to other teams? And I'm like, well, because others are. Do you know what I mean? It's mad. What do you make to that? Go on.
Top 10 teams in the division this year have signed 10 players in this window. 1 player each.
Yeah.
And then, but that's not the case. Like Hull have signed a few more.
Yeah.
Go through it. Watford 1, Norwich none, Sunderland none, Coventry 1, West Brom 2, Leeds none, Southampton 1, Leicester 2, but they've lost players.
Yeah.
And they've lost good players, and they've got players out injured, and they could be losing Kieran Dewsbury Hall because, let's be honest, if the transfer fee is 35 million for Dewsbury Hall, Brighton have got over 200 million sitting in the bank from transfer fees that they brought in last summer. So they have that money there if they want to go do that deal, right? So that makes them weaker again. Ipswich has brought in a handful, but as you said, because George Hurst is injured, that's a huge loss for them, George Hurst. I'm a big fan of George Hurst as a old school number 9. I think he does a really good job. So that team is weaker, and that's going to be an issue then when Hurst does come back, or if he comes back, who goes where and what the replacement looks like. So again, it's having conversations with people like literally right now telling me about Leo Hjelde as well, saying that he's a better centre back than Charlie Creswell. But what data? Because he's never played a centre back for Leeds in 4 years he's been here. So what are you comparing it to when he was 17 playing at Celtic? You know, that's, you know, come on. If we're going to compare things, let's compare things with apples and not apples with skyscrapers. You know, let's get it right here and start looking at what they actually are. The top 10 teams have not signed huge amounts of players. There's not a massive amount of movement in the Premier League. I think up to last week there was something like 40 something million spent in the Premier League in this window. They're usually in the hundreds of millions by this stage. So it's a very quiet window. The threat of the actions of FFP in the Premier League seem to actually be having an impact on teams where they're going, okay, well, there might actually be a points deduction here, so let's maybe not sign loads of players. Like look at Newcastle, you know, as well as an example, selling players in this window, where I think if the FFP stuff doesn't pop up, they probably go and buy a load of players. So that has there's a drip down effect into the Championship with that as well, because those clubs are not signing players, their backup players or the replacements aren't becoming available for Championship clubs to go and buy as well. So there's a general just quietening down of a window. There's a huge amount of money spent in the last 2 transfer windows from lots of clubs. You're going to get a bit of a lull, but it could kick in the next 4 days and go absolutely nuts. And that's very possible that could happen. But again, if we're looking at numbers of teams bringing in going, oh, well, they signed 2 or 3 players and we signed nobody. Great. You don't know if those 2 or 3 players make them better, weaker, or cause problems. You know, I was a big advocate of us bringing in Jed Spence. I couldn't wait to see Jed Spence. I talked at your show actually at the halfway point before January started of going, who do you think is going to be the standout player in the second half of the season? I said Jed Spence. Can't wait to see him. Yeah. But then there's issues behind the scenes there, not turning up to events in time, causing hassle, being late. And that has a knock-on effect, because if you're walking late to training, the manager's annoyed. I would be annoyed as a manager if a player walks in late. Something that reflects my mood then gets reflected onto everybody else and changes the mood of the camp. So there's bits there. I look, if by the end of the window we haven't signed a couple of players, I'll be, and I won't be annoyed by it, but I'll be like, okay, if we don't get what we need to get at the end of the season, then it'll come back to bite them on the backside. 100%. And we've done this before with the Adam Forshaw being our new signing and having 2 international number 9s. You know, we saw what happened there, collapsed on its arse. That could happen again. I would like us to think that we're not going to look at the last 4 games in the league and go, oh, we don't really need anybody. I'd hate to think that was a reason, but I don't think so. I really don't think so. So again, I'll go back to the same thing. I'm happy to wait until the end of the window to see if Leeds get the right players in. I've trusted what we brought in so far. Outside of Spence, I think we brought in good players this season that have definitely, and again, we have the same points total now as we had under Bielsa at this stage. You know, so that was the year we got promoted. So that's the benchmark for me of, are we trending the same way we were the year we got promoted? And yes, we are. So that's fine. Give it time. Give it till the end of the window. I'll be very clear on this. If we don't bring anybody in, and if it does turn out to bite us on the backside, I'll be the first person to say I was wrong to be relaxed about that. They made a mistake. Yeah. What I'd say is everybody else who's commenting right now about the 49ers getting out of the club, making mistakes on things, if they're proved wrong in 4 days' time, would they be as likely to
Nah.
publish those messages and go, I got it wrong? Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
No. Because I know and I can see from my tweets that they have been booked marked left, right, and centre. And Leeds fans can't wait to say, told you we won't sign anyone. That's fine. But yeah, and I'm like you. I will also be critical of them. But right now, I feel we're going to be fine. Just want to flash this up as well. So just so we know we're not making up nonsense, Mr. Amthrop. So you can see here, club record, Leeds have won 4 consecutive league matches, which you weren't listening to because we didn't mention the cup game. Played in January in a single season for the first time in the club's history. So since 1919, at the start of a calendar year, we've won 4 league games on the spin for the first time ever. So yeah, listen.
I bet you won't get another comment that says, sorry, Joe, got that one wrong.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Anyway, we move. Right, okay, let's have a look. So let's go to some more comments as well. Now, Blinky Fish, this is having, I don't think it's messed it up. I want to get your opinion on it, Joe. I actually think profit and sustainability is actually doing what it's supposed to do. I know it's frustrating for us as fans, but what we're seeing is if you correlate January transfer spend this season to January last season in the Premier League or leagues on, Premier League was like 400 and odd million. I don't even think we're close to 100 yet. So what that shows me is that clubs are having to be more stringent. That's what it's set for. And it's almost creating a level playing field, because what it means is that these big clubs can no longer stockpile players. We're seeing Newcastle having to move Callum Wilson on, for example. What he's going to then do is go to another club, which makes them stronger and then gives them an opportunity to climb up the league. If anything, what we're seeing is a leveling out, I think, anyway. And I don't think it's such a bad thing, Joe. I don't know where you stand on profit and sustainability.
There's 2 levels to it. There's the EFL version and there's the Premier League version. Yep. The EFL version has always had immediate consequences. If you break FFP in the Championship, there's always been a point deduction. You've seen teams get point deductions this season in League One and the Championship. It's there. The Premier League, there have been 0 consequences since they brought it in. So you've seen Man City flirt with it. You've seen Newcastle last year flirt with it. We saw Nottingham Forest. I mean, anyone who thought Nottingham Forest weren't going to break FFP last year when the amount of players they brought in over 2 windows was, they brought in 2 full squads and 2 transfer windows. The middle one of the season for January to get promoted, and then the summer one for the start of the season as well. So people who thought that they weren't going to get caught. Man City are looking at potentially being kicked out of the league now. 115 charges that are now being processed. Everton have already had a points deduction this season. Possibly will get a second one. Forest are looking at one as well. There's now direct consequences to splashing cash that you don't bring in. 49ers modeling what they're looking at doing with Leeds, and you keep talking about the stadium. Leeds bringing about $1.5 million per home game. They want to increase up to $4 million by improving the stadium and the concourse areas around it, bringing them more money. That means there's more money coming into the club. That means Leeds can spend more money. Same with the jerseys internationally. They can get I don't think the Adidas deal is up this year, and it might be extended next year if Leeds go up, but that gives them a reach of getting their jerseys out to more and more people around the world. If you go to America, the white shirt is one of the most sold English shirts in the country, which is brilliant. That brings in more revenue as well. And that will help us when we get in that, because we're bringing in this kind of money. So then we can spend that kind of money. And 49ers have the money to spend. But right now, we're in the Championship. And right now, we can't flirt with that kind of money. We can't spend huge money. We've got to be smart. We can't be wasteful. We really can't be wasteful, because we'll get caught. We will get caught in the Championship. And we know the EFL will love to have a shot at Leeds and knock us back. So there's that. There is a definite leveling out of things from a certain 100%. Perspective. I think initially the sustainability, profit and sustainability in the Premier League froze the top 6 where they were and made it very hard for anybody else to get into that. But I think now we are seeing the consequences that's starting to change. But also on the Callum Wilson comment that you made, that's a really interesting point, because by them having to sell him for FFP, that makes another club stronger, but that also frees up a striker from that club to move to another lower club to make that club better as well. So
yeah, 100%.
The other thing as well,
you can't stockpile players anymore, can you? Ultimately, you cannot.
Well, you can't stockpile players of a certain level, which is why you're looking at Manchester City now buying Finlay Gorman from Leeds for $5 million, a 15-year-old for £5 million quid. Which is nuts. Now, he is described as a generational talent and he might end up being brilliant, but they've signed 4 or 5 other kids at the same age last summer for over $1 million. So they're looking at buying academies. Leeds tried it with Bate, Yelda, Gelhardt, Greenwood, all these players, and it didn't work out. It's not a guarantee with young players. They develop differently. They develop at different ages. Not everyone's a guaranteed shoe-in. So they're trying to do it the other way. If they can buy Finlay Gorman for Leeds for $5 million now, that means that in 10 years' time, if he hits the peak they think he's going to hit, they're not going to have to pay 100 million to buy him. You know, that's the way they're trying to get around it. Same with Newcastle with man Miley, they've locked down to a long-term contract. So there's that kind of stuff going on in the background as well. I think it has helped things out. I think ultimately in the next couple of years, it will start to change things if there's action, if they continue to have cases against clubs that have broken this and continue to deduct points. I think you'll start to see a very strong restructuring, but I think it has scared teams this window into spending or at least managing what their ins and outs a little bit better than just stockpiling.
No, I agree. I do agree with you, and I agree with that notion of John F. there. You know what I mean? What that means is people can go wild, and that's having to change that now. Daniel says, "Hi, Jonesy. Leeds is money gem of Yorkshire. We need players play Leeds, not for a quick paycheck." No, yeah, 100%. That we don't want people, and I think with this current team, we will get that. But yeah, I don't think profit and sustain. Just to go back to that point, has messed it up. If anything, it's making sure that clubs are operating correctly. Someone mentioned Chelsea as well. Like, unfortunately, except for Chelsea. Listen, folks, Chelsea. Listen, I think it's dodgy, but on Chelsea, they got lucky with the Saudi Pro League and then being able to get a lot of these players off their books for money that they wouldn't have got had the Saudi Pro League not been about. However, the grass isn't always greener on the Saudi Pro League, as we're seeing with the likes of Benzema wanting him out, with others saying, listen, get me out of here. So let's see how long that lasts. But what you're also seeing is Chelsea want to remove players like Conor Gallagher and Armando Broja off the books. Why? Because they give them the biggest return in profit and sustainability. Eventually, that's not going to work, though, because eventually you get a star that comes through and you have to sell him because he's your biggest upturn, and that's why they wanted to get rid of Conor Gallagher. Let's not forget Conor Gallagher as captained. He's captain Chelsea, and
they just made him captain for this season, exactly. And then they're looking at selling him at the same time because they need to sell
and they're doing that exactly. They're doing that for the money because it's like, well, he cost us zero, so therefore all 30 million we get for him goes in the bank. But
1 billion exactly in 3 windows.
Yeah. So that's a byproduct of Chelsea doing what they're doing. They're now having to sell players that have come through their youth setup. But that, next one might be someone that they want to keep hold of, but they just can't afford to do. So I think over the course of the time, it'll be fine. Just on this as well, I don't think Leeds have a profit and sustainability issue. Do you? Is there a narrative that Leeds... I mean, I've seen this thing that we had to get rid of Joffrey and he was on 25 grand a week, which was just factually incorrect and lies. But Leeds don't need to get rid of bodies in order to bring anyone in, do they? Because we bid for the right back.
There is a hedging of their bets, I think, as well, because right now we don't need to sell anybody. We can bring in players. I mean, Leeds could go crazy this window if they wanted to and get promoted. Yeah. And then, I mean, look at Aston Villa. Aston Villa smashed the financial FFP, sorry, I keep forgetting my words. FFP, when they were in the championship the year they went up. The EFL still have a case against Aston Villa waiting. And they've said, we will wait for them to come back into the division. When Aston Villa ever get relegated again, they'll be deducted 10 points straight away because the EFL have told them, you broke it, there's a case against you. It doesn't apply in the Premier League. But when you come back, it will apply. And that's hanging over them. Leeds could do that. Leeds could smash the FFP and go into the Premier League and buy loads of players. But what if they didn't? What if they signed loads of players and they didn't go up? Then next season, the parachute payments are less. And now there's a bigger problem. Now we might have to sell Cree. You might have to sell Nanto. You might have to sell Jorginho. You might have to get rid of these players. But if they don't go crazy in this one, we might get promoted and then they can go nuts because that'll be pulled into the Premier League's 3-year window and they won't have to spend a huge amount. So we'll have more money to spend when we get to the Premier League. And if we don't get promoted, it means that we're not as tight next season and we might not have to sell players, and that gives us a better crack. Because let's be honest, the 3 teams that went out of this division last year into the Premier League will more than likely all come back. And the argument we made that if Leeds had still been in the Premier League this year, it's an easier bottom half of the Premier League and you're probably safe, right? Yeah. Like Everton could get 20 points deducted and still end up not getting relegated this year. That's how bad the bottom of the division is. So arguably the championship is arguably stronger this year because Leicester, Southampton, and Leeds are there and there's more money there from those 3 teams. They shouldn't have gone down. If Leeds don't go up this year, Leeds will be competing with the likes of Burnley, Luton next year to get promoted. That makes it an easier championship as well. So there's a long-term thing that they've got to look at. That they can't just look at one thing, go right, everything on that window, or everything on this season, because if it doesn't happen, and it might not happen for lots of reasons, they've got to make sure they can have another crack at it next year and not end up 15th again for the next 5 years because we spent too much money and live the dream again. I mean, I have a real problem with this. Given Leeds' history financially, Why people want Leeds to just throw money at windows boggles my mind, considering how broke this club was when we did that. You know, we've had bad owners who have spent stupid money on players that didn't deserve it and broke this club for a very, very long time. I like Leeds being sustainable. I like Leeds being calm. I like Leeds being quiet about their business. Let's just do it properly and relax and wait to see what happens.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree with you. There seems to be, you know, again, Danny, I disagree. It's FFP. I think that I massively disagree with that. But do you think there is, because a few people have mentioned this, do you think there's an issue in terms of giving them the game time? Do you think someone like a Ryan Giles, let's take him in, and I'm not saying he's fought this, but he looks at Leeds United, he sees Junior Firpo play minutes, having played for Barca, and thinks, well, I'm not going to get minutes. Do you know, there is, and it's the same with, say, you know, Benson, with maybe David Brooks, with other players that might look at it and see, well, Jadon Anthony's gone there and he played more in the Premier League than he has there. So how am I going to fit in? So do you think that could have a big bearing on it?
I think that's a huge bear. And again, I'll be very careful how I say this. I've said this to you. This is not a criticism of Daniel Farke, right? He doesn't use his bench early enough. He doesn't rotate his squad enough. Okay, they're facts. We can't argue them. Look at the minutes the players come off the bench. That's how he runs his ship. And again, he has averaged the same amount of points as Bielsa did the year we went up. So he's doing okay. He's doing fine. There's no issue with that. If you're a club like Liverpool and you've got Calvin Ramsey, who you've just taken back from Preston because he wasn't playing enough games, and Leeds are looking at bringing him in, Daniel Farke isn't going to say to Liverpool, I'll guarantee him starts every single week. He's not. Because he has to earn that. So he might have to sit on the bench behind Archie for 2 weeks and see what happens. Liverpool won't want that because they just had that situation to recall them. Ben Godfrey, the same with Everton.
Just to jump in as well, mate. There's talk of Calvin Ramsey going to Bolton that's League One. But again, that's because Bolton can say, yeah, he's going to bloody play every single minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Godfrey is the same. Like, the player himself has said, and David Brooks is in this bracket as well. They have both said out loud, I want to play football. There's no guarantee of that at Leeds. I mean, David Brooks could come in. Will he go in ahead of Georgina Rutter straight away? Probably not. He might have to sit on the bench and get a couple of minutes and wait for his chance. Not saying he's not good enough to play, but he'll have to wait for his chance. Godfrey comes in. Is he getting in ahead of Joe Rodon? Probably not. So he's going to have to wait a little bit to get his chance. And this is the problem. You've only got, 16, 17 league games left. So are they going to stick around for that? Probably not. Like that's so it could very well be that's the issue. But then again, are we looking at bringing in warm bodies? Are we looking at bringing in players that are going to make a difference to the team? If we can bring players in that are going to be strong enough. And the other thing as well is, and this is why it's not a criticism of Daniel Farke, if you're Manuel Benson, if you're Connor Roberts, if you're Ben Godfrey, surely you back yourself to go into a team like Leeds in the Championship and push your way into that team. Even if it's 2 weeks. If they said to Connor Roberts, look, he's going to start Archie Gray in the next 2 weeks, you're probably going to be on the bench. I'm Connor Roberts. I'm going to be saying, I'm better than him as a fullback. I'll prove it in training. Give me a week or two, I'll be in the team. And these players don't seem to want to back themselves. They seem to want the easier route, which is guarantee me minutes. And I'm okay with Farke not guaranteeing anybody minutes because it means it's competition. And we need that. So, yeah, I think how he uses the team and how he rotates may be having an impact, but it might be having an impact on the players who want an easier route to play, which I'm okay with that being a factor.
100%, mate. I agree with you. I do just want to mention this as well because I think Leeds Hub has hit the nail on the head, and I think it deserves praise that maybe people are so transfixed on bringing players in, which I get, Shiny New Toy, etc., etc. But Leeds Hub says it's not spoken about enough how well the club has done in keeping our star players from being cherry-picked. You noticed how there's no talks of bids coming in for Cree, Rutter, like they have for Dewsbury Hall, for example. Other players may have been cherry-picked by the Prem. I genuinely think clubs are even entertaining ringing up Leeds to have a conversation because they know, you're getting put in the bin. Daniel Farke deserves praise for this as well. I have not got your thoughts on Creswell, but the way that he handles that has seen Creswell come back into the fold. We've also got Nonto potentially signing a new deal. Just on the Nonto criticism as well that I've seen, let's not forget he is 2 years younger than Cree Somerville. Remember my position and your thoughts on Cree 2 years ago? You would have never felt he could have done what Cree's doing. So be calm on Nonto. He's not lost it. You know what I mean? He will re-find his form. But they do deserve praise, the 49ers, for this as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, in general, it's a much calmer club, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
The fact that we've told clubs you want Cree, you're going to have to pay for them, and clubs have went, well, we can't afford that. Great. You're not getting him. Same with Willie. Like, we stood our ground. When have we seen Leeds do that with a player? Say to Everton, we want 25 million for him, you're not getting him. And they were like, well, we want him for 20, but you're not getting him for 20. End of story. End of story. Stop ringing us unless you pay the money we're asking for, right? Go back 12 months ago. I mean, if anyone thinks for a second that Radrizzani wouldn't have bitten their hand off for anything more than 15 million for Nando, because that would have been a savage profit, and they would have taken that immediately. The current Leeds board have gone, we don't need that money. We've got money. We don't need to sell. We're okay. And that means I think the squad is still in a good enough position. We haven't lost any players that are in the matchday squad. Yeah. That's the point. Luke Ayling had missed out on 3 matchday squads back to back. Leo Kjelda hasn't been in the matchday squad since the start of the year. Lewis Bay hasn't been in the matchday squad since preseason. Joe Gelhardt doesn't get off the bench. So if they do let Joe Gelhardt go, Matteo Joseph is now ahead of him. You know, Sam Greenwood wasn't playing. And I like Sam Greenwood. I think Sam Greenwood is a very good player at this level. I think he's a very good. I think he's proven it at Middlesbrough, but he wasn't getting in the Leeds squad. So have we lost anything? No, because they weren't in the. If Leeds were letting Gruev go, or Kamara go, or Archie go, or letting Rodon go back, yeah. Okay, now you've got a problem because they're starting players. These other players are either on the periphery of the squad, aren't playing football, or are not on the squad at all. Are we stockpiling second-rate players? On the Helda thing as well, do we want a Rotherham sub as our backup when we're trying to chase promotion? Yeah. Is that what we're saying? So we need better players, not to hang on to the ones that aren't doing it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I do agree with you, mate. And listen, previous regime gets a phone call on Archie and probably sells him. Do you know what I mean? We've got to remember all these sort of things. 772 watching. If you haven't already, smash a like. Make sure you subscribe to Jay as well. Luke W says, best way to build a roster is one eye on present, one eye on future. Okay. I agree. Because, do you know what? And I don't know, we might have touched on this point, because I'm like reading the chat and everything, but Nottingham Forest's a great example of this, because they signed so many players on loan, that many that when they came up, they were like, shit, we now have to sign loads of players. And that's due to poor planning. And now look at the situation they find themselves in. They could be due a point deduction. They could get relegated. And if they get relegated, they've got no relegation release clauses, and we might not see Forest for a while. So this is important to remember as well. Just on this, Jamie, I don't think there is a solution. This is the point. I think us being relaxed now doesn't mean that come the end of the window, if that happened, we'd be fuming. We're both saying that. It's right now. Right now. But like I said to people when they were saying, this was just my opinion when they were going, we need bodies now. And I was like, it feels to me, the club are basing it on a week-by-week basis. We only had 4 fixtures at the time. It was like, if we can get through this fixture, then we don't need to push the button. And it's only took us up until Norwich, where we've actually got knocks, where now we're seeing, right, we need to get moving, because we might be out without Gray, we might be without left backs or whatever. So they haven't needed bodies up to this point. And the results have shown us that fact as well, right? Yeah. So we have to remember.
I do agree with Jamie, and I will say this: if we don't sign a fullback by the end of the window, I think we've left ourselves very short. But the window's not closed yet.
Yeah. No, exactly. This is the thing. I mean, again, your boss, I'm telling you now, Rodon's going to get injured soon. I can just tell. Maybe. Like, that's just baseless, though, isn't it? You're just shitting yourself. How can you tell?
Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. We don't know. We have to you have to wait. But again, I mean, the fact that Creswell's not leaving means there's another option there. We've seen Ethan Ampadu drop in there and do absolutely fine. Yeah. To the point where a lot of people have said Ethan Ampadu and Rodon are better than Stroke and Rodon. I don't agree with that, but they say that they are. There's good options in that defensive area. If you bring up, and Sam Byram's played centre back as well for when he was at Norwich and West Ham as well for time, so he can slip in there. Not ideal. It's not ideal, but you've got options there. But I'm okay right now. If we don't do any business when the window closes, I won't be okay. I'll be annoyed that we haven't done the right business, but I'm willing to give them till the end of the window before I judge it.
Yeah, big shout out to Gabe as well. By the way, Gabe, someone tweeted me that Kjelda should have gone for 9 million. I just what? Yeah, I mean that's crazy. The fact that we've got 2 million for Kjelda is very good business, by the way, because he could have easily seen his contract run out and left for nothing. I'd like a few defensive signings, but not being tethered down to second division at best contracts is a scenario to avoid. Exactly, Gabe. And listen. Mine and Gabe's thoughts don't always align, but that's fine. You're allowed to disagree. You're allowed to have different opinions. Big up to Gabe, by the way. Make sure you check him out on Win Leeds on his own channel. This again, Paul, right? Again, who told you who our first signings was? Oh no, sorry, that's the wrong one. It's the wrong one. I've got him stars. This one. The problem is we no longer seem to be looking at first choices. Who told you that?
Who told us that? Yeah, we don't know.
Who are we going based off Sky Sports Pete? Are we going based off Football Insider? Fabrizio hasn't, this is what I'm saying though. We don't know who our number one signings are. We think we know, but we don't know. And I would argue, like we said right at the top of this video, even the UK-based press don't know. They probably know more than the thing, and they've got to back it up. They can't just make baseless claims like us YouTubers can, for example. But because they have bosses and I guess certain credibility that they need to keep, they probably do know of certain names. But they don't. No one knew about Ampadu. No one knew about Rodon. No one knew about players that came through the door. No one knew about Ilya Guriev at all. So we don't know who our first choices are. We're just again creating outrage for no reason.
Even the guy that we didn't sign the summer, Amari, when he came in, the number 10 that ended up floating around Leeds at the time. No one knew that was happening until he was in Leeds. The morning he was in Leeds, was the thing came out. Then he was spotted in Leeds City Centre. So that came out of nowhere. Out of all of them, right? Nat Phillips isn't going to happen, I think, and I don't think we should sign him. He couldn't get into the Celtic team. Played 3 games for Celtic on loan. Do we want that? I think the Championship and the Scottish Premier are pretty. Well, actually, sorry, the second half of the Scottish Premier outside of the top 2, probably bottom half of the Championship League 1 level. Let's be honest. So do you want a player who can't get in against those teams? Probably not. Godfrey's been linked. There's possibly something in that. Manuel Benson, I don't believe there was ever anything in that, ever.
No,
right? Yeah. Connor Roberts, possibly, but then there's been tons of others linked that haven't been linked through major sources, have been linked through Football Insider, who, again, Football Insider's track record is horrendous. And nobody reads the small print on their exclusive. Beneath it in really small writing is the word coverage. It's not an exclusive post. It's exclusive coverage, which obviously it's not, because everyone covers these clubs. So it's not. So if you're taking that as your basis for where the players' Leeds are looking at, you're probably taking the wrong sources to start with. I expect players at Leeds will sign. It might be Robertson Benson. Sorry, it might be Robertson Godfrey. But I wouldn't be surprised if names came out that we haven't heard of, like Hashiogo yesterday, who hadn't been linked with Leeds at all.
Not at all. Do you know what I mean?
The same pattern as the 49ers did in the summer. Literally out of nowhere, bang, link signed.
100%. And this is the mad thing. I love having I love having Jer on as well, of course, but I love having Lockie and Andrea on, and they scoured these. And even, listen, their knowledge knows no ends. They work in the game, all that sort of stuff. They're very intelligent. And I said to them, because I know they looked at a few Japanese players, I was like, did we mention him? And they were like, no. Do you know what I mean? So even someone who was scoured, using Y Scout and that to watch videos, which is what actual football clubs use, and they didn't pick him out. So it's not, it's one of them that just comes totally out of the blue. Just to give people an update as well, David Ornstein is now reporting just on the Keenan Dewsbury Hall deal that there is Leicester's profit and sustainability position means a deal could happen if Leicester decide to sell. Brighton are in the driving seat, so there is a gap between valuations. So this whole narrative now coming from Leicester fans, he's definitely staying, wants to stay, etc., which is mainly coming from Locks, by the way, to me. That's one that's going to rumble on and could see happening on deadline day. And then guess what? Leicester don't have time to replace him.
That gap in valuation appears to be 10 million. Brighton want to offer 30, Leicester want 40. That can be bridged pretty quickly. That's not a huge gap in the Premier League.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I don't know. That's something that was shared on Wacko. Don't know enough about him. Joe Tiffany knows everything, says Bobby. Someone was saying Joe Tiffany's saying we're getting desperate now. I haven't seen that, but Joe Tiff's like Football Insider. Big up to Joe Tiff, though. I do respect the grind. Please don't take it as.
I love the grind, but Joe Tiff's not a journalist, and Joe Tiff's not in the know. And if you go through Joe Tiff's history, again, it's either announcing something that's already come out, or he's grabbing onto a Football Insider or a Team Talk headline and then rectifying it. No disrespect to Joe, because Joe does a huge amount of work on Twitter. I don't know how he gets any work done. He's on all the time. Yeah. But I will say, if you're not getting Ornstein, 100% credible. Phil Hay, credible. Adam Pope, credible. Right? The Daily Mail right now, who a year ago would have said not credible, seem to have the inside track on Leeds. The Daily Mail are the ones saying Connor Roberts is the target. They're the ones that are saying that. I'm more likely to believe that. Then, and again, going back to the Benson one, it was team talk and Cavalieri that said that, nobody else. And then and as I said, Cavalieri is already rewriting his own history. He's now shared the Hayoko deal, and he's like called it. It was like, dude, the Benson deal.
No, you got it wrong.
You called it last week. So
exactly.
Be careful what you jump on. If you see a name linked with Leeds, I have to do it every morning with the news. I have to go through all these stuff. I go through all the different stuff that's out there, and then find out where has this popped up in more than one place where the source is different each time. If the source is always Football Insider, I'm not covering that story because chances are it's not credible and not real. So you've got to do a little bit of homework. Don't react to the first tweet that you see because it'll drive you nuts. It will drive you mad looking at the amount of players we've been linked with. Just go to Football Insider or Team Talk and scroll. And then look at the names and then go and see if any of those names have been linked by a credible journalist like The Athletic, anyone at The Athletic, and see if they have been. Probably haven't.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad, isn't it? That's what I'm saying. There's too much. But just my thing though with it is why I get frustrated is like, don't pretend to be in the know. Just say you're not in the know and you're just pushing transfer news out there for people because you can keep up to date about it. But
Joe, since I'm
going
doing
to
channel, since I launched my channel, all I've said is I am not in the know. I don't know anything. And no, I had one person contact me about Finley Gorman a month before it went through, and I wasn't sure if it was true, so I didn't run it. I should have, and I got a football kit thing that started last season. That was it. Outside of that, be careful what you believe.
Yeah, for sure. Let me just call out. Sophie plays solo. Stop trying to cause shit in the comments. I see you. Just bear with me 1 minute. There was something that I wanted to bring up because I think it's worthwhile discussing. Georgia, neither of you seem to be giving the potential of a Leeds injury crisis much consideration. Right. I mean, it either will or it won't. But if it will or it won't, though, Joe, like what we're both aware, like Jamie said in the chat earlier, and again, this is why I would still push for a left back. If you could guarantee me Furpon Byram to make it through the season and also Archie Gray, I'd be less forgiving. But you can't guarantee me that. So, of course, we want fullbacks. No one's saying that. I think we have considered it.
But also, Joe, we have talked about the injury stuff. I mean, I've been on Or No Better this week, yesterday morning, and I was on Not Another League podcast on Friday, and I said the same thing on both of them. I am worried about the Leeds crisis. The 46 game season will catch up with you. It does catch up with you. Stamina fatigue. Look at Ipswich right now. You could say that there's probably a stamina problem with them right now. It's starting to catch up on them. The pace that they took off at is starting to really, really slow down. We've seen it with Leeds when we were in the Championship before. There were seasons where we, under Gary Monk, we were in the top two, and then we fell away. It happens. So, and the first season Bielsa was here, we were top two for most of the year, and then all of a sudden we end up third. So you can fall away. There is an injury problem there, and there's gonna be. And Leeds have said they need fullbacks. That's where the injury concern is right now. So if they haven't brought in fullbacks by the end of the window, we got a problem. If they do bring them in by the end of the window, we don't have a problem.
Yeah, no, exactly. Scottish Leeds fan says, is there any news about the Celtic centre back? What's that? Do you know about that? He's on the. I don't know.
And he's not at Celtic anymore. He's back at Liverpool, but he was at Celtic the first half of the season. Played 3 games in the league, played 2 games in the cup. That was it.
Yeah.
If that's the same one, I haven't heard any links to any other Leeds Celtic centre back right now.
Yeah. I love this tweet from Gabe, actually. Gabe says, half the fan base is outraged that a player outside the manager's plans is being sold versus being left to rot on the bench, and the other half is insulting that player as he goes as if he was trash the whole time. I mean, I did say it was cheeks, which I think he was. But he says some fan bases will call it a crisis. We call this Monday.
Any day that ends with a Y, it's. But the problem with this is like I've said some things about Higuela today. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Gabe's right. I tend to agree with an awful lot of what Gabe says, but in this situation, he is right. But the problem with this is it's people responding to other people who are saying this guy had a high ceiling, this guy has huge potential. Why are we selling him? And then the reaction is, well, you can't say that because he played 13 games for Rotherham. They didn't sign him when they had a chance to sign him, and he's been in U21s all season. So the problem is when you give those details out to somebody, it looks like you're having a pop at the player and saying he wasn't good enough. But the reality here is football gets rootless at a certain age. Either you're making the breakthrough or you're not. And if you're not, you're cut.
Yeah. No, I agree. I do agree. We're just going to finish up. I just want to mention this again. I'm not happy with the defence situation. It's 2024. We still talk about the same things. Whatever Jed Spence did, he should have. Not for me personally, mate. By all accounts, he refused to go to a children's hospital during the Christmas period. So that for me is enough. for him to get in the bin. And he was late on a number of occasions as well. So no,
he's
thank
late for
you very
training
much.
seems to be a big problem as well.
Yes,
he's paid enough money to do the things that are in his contract.
Be there on time, bro. Be there on time. You know, that's what it's not difficult, is it, to be there on time?
I'd have loved to see him play right back all season for Leeds, but if you cause problems behind the scenes, then you shouldn't stay in the club. There has to be
100%. And just to finish up, mate, Richard Hutchinson, Chelsea or Villa versus Plymouth or Leeds. For me, mate, when I seen this draw, I'm sorry, I know people won't like it. Villa don't get beat at home and would struggle against Chelsea at home. I'd actually fancy as more so Stamford Bridge. So for me, I know Farke won't do it because he wants to win every game, and it probably could curb any momentum we've got if we did throw it. But I'm honestly not asked about progressing in the cup, Jer. I don't know how you feel about it, mate.
I don't care about the FA Cup. We're not going to win it. What's the point? You know, I know that then someone will go, well, what's the point going into any year? It's a chance to give players games. Daniel Farke doesn't rotate the squad in the FA Cup. So again, what's the point? Right now, we've got bigger fish to fry. I would like Villa because my brother's a Villa fan and we've already talked. We've never been to a game together. So we both already talked about if this happens, we'll try and get over and get to that match together to both go. And I'd love to do that with my brother, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Villa don't lose at home either, mate. It wouldn't be a good afternoon for us.
I'm just
it'd be picked for TV and everything as well. And I just,
it's not a game though, Joe. February is going to be a tough enough month for us because of the travel that's involved in it. We've already got a very tough end, and we had our wobble over December. We have pretty much those exact same teams in the last month of the season that we have to go to all those play against those teams again. That's going to be tricky. If you're throwing extra games in midweek, you know, or rescheduling stuff, it's gonna catch up as well. I'd love us to if we get back to the Premier League. I'd like to see us go for a run in the FA Cup, but in the Championship, I don't really care.
Yeah, no. I'm just having a look at something here. Again, this could have a bearing, may not have a bearing. Leeds have inquired about centre backs. I was told. I'm not saying it's ITK. You know, please take it with a pinch of salt. Obviously, Connor Roberts as well, and it's just been reported that Maxime Estevez is waiting for the final green light from Montpellier in order to fly over to Burnley. So he's a defender. So again, if we are serious about Roberts, these are the sort of things that you're waiting to drop into place. So this is why I think Leeds will see a flurry of moves. I still think we could get David Brooks, by the way, just because it's gone very quiet at Southampton. And I think if he does become available, because Bournemouth managed to get someone in from Spain or someone that they like, then that could happen. But yeah, Maxime Estevez on his way. I don't know much about him, but I've just had a quick look. He's a defender. So yeah, let's wait and see.
I forgot what I was going to say there. No, you just said it a second ago. I was going to jump on that.
The dominoes waiting to fall, or David Brooks?
David Brooks. It has been said since the first link of David Brooks that it is more likely to be a deadline day move, if any move. So that's been said since day one. So the fact that we haven't signed David Brooks is in line with that. So that's a deadline day because, again, Bournemouth will want to bring in. Andoni Areola has said there's two things with the Brooks deal. One, the player's wishes. And two, can they get cover? That's what he said. David Brooks came out after the game during the week where he did captain the side. He did get a goal and an assist. I think he might actually have 2 assists. But he said, I want to play.
Yeah.
Now, he said, ideally, I want to play here, but if I can't play here, I want to play games. That will go all the way down till the end of the window to see if he can get a move and if they'll let him go. So there's more time on that, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. Just someone has just mentioned something. Here it is. It's not happening, Joe. It's 29th of January. Nothing is happening. Historically, when do most deals get done in any transfer window, do you reckon?
Deadline day is mental.
Deadline day. Yeah. So, it's not... Deadline day is the busiest of days.
Day of football. Like, Sky have created a whole culture around one day of every 6 months. There's this deadline day. They have a whole presentation for it. Their entire show from 7 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night is dedicated just to transfers. So there's a reason for that. Like, they've created this deadline day madness that comes up. But clubs will... It's when people become free and available, when things have started, when you know exactly where you are and what's left. Exactly. We signed Rafinha the last day. And also, by the way, there were people critical of that signing as well, that we'd signed a player from a lower down the team, French team, and he hadn't done huge things there. And then we were surprised. So, yeah, Joe's banging the money.
What a player he was, by the way. So, yeah, we shall wait and see. But we've done up to an hour. Joe, I've really, really enjoyed that chat, mate. And hopefully someone put a comment earlier on saying please, this was it. Good morning, Georgia. Calm down these helmets. Hopefully we've been able to do that. And anyone who's, I'm not saying you're a helmet. It was talk. But yeah, just calm down
for now,
if you can. For now, yeah. And trust me, I know you will all come to me and say, I told you on January the 1st we'd get no deals done, and it's like, oh wow, you had a crystal ball. You didn't genuinely know that. You've just put something out there.
Should I apply for a job as a recruitment director then, or you should launch your own YouTube channel where you can tell everyone that.
What I will say though, if we do sign someone, I'm fucking coming for all yous. Don't worry about it.
I'll make a promise, right? I'll make a promise. If we don't sign anybody before deadline day, I will come on the show and I will say, yeah, I was wrong. We should have panicked, right? Yeah. Okay. And to everyone that said we're not going to do anything, just those specific ones, I say it's not happening. Save your comments, and when the window's closed, let's all come on here and let's say if we were right or if we were wrong. If that's what people want to do, let's engage and do it, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're willing to say you were wrong, I'm willing to say that I'm wrong.
Yeah. I'd love to say I'm as nice as you, but nah. Definitely I'm coming. Gabe says, Joy, appreciate your Darth Vader level defending of our ownership. Top lad. Here's what it is. I'm American now, bro. 49ers. Let's go Niners, who are in the Super Bowl, by the way. I don't have a clue about American football, but well done. Well done.
Real quick on that, right? Because there are people who have said they want the 49ers to go already, which
man.
Look at the job they've done out with San Francisco. It has not been an overnight success. They have built a structure. They have built a new stadium. They have built an investment model. They have backed a single coach who was under a huge amount of pressure, Shanahan, when he went in there at the start and didn't get everything right, but they backed him. They got the right guy. They recruited the right way. The exact same way they recruited at Leeds. They took their time. And it took us ages to get Farke in. So they have a certain way of doing things. They fell just short last year of reaching the Super Bowl final. And there's an argument that they lost their first choice 3 quarterbacks leading to that game, and that was a massive problem going to a final. They're in a final now. They've built that, and they've built what is class. And I work with Americans, and the guys that I work with are all American football fans. They don't all like the 49ers, but they will say it's a good franchise that's been ran the right way. If they apply that same logic to Leeds over the next 10 years, we should be in a very, very good place if it applies.
Yeah. Thank you for that lovely comment as well, Andy. And there was, I think his name was Andy. But after my stream yesterday, I went to my shop and I was in the shop, and he'll know what I'm talking about, by the way. So big shout out and thanks for watching. It turns out he lives in my area. He hadn't gone to the shop, but this woman turned around and went, I've just been watching your podcast. I was like, all right, okay, sure. Yeah, my husband watches you all the time. You've got 2 dogs out. I was like, yeah. And he was like, he's always walking the dogs thinking he'll bump into you. But I think his name was Andy or Alan. I think it might be Andy. So big shout out to you. Thank you. And I'm on Robert Street. So walk your dogs down there and you'll find me. I can't give you my address because people, anyway. But I'm on Robert Street somewhere. So big up to you. 60% of people believe even still that Leeds United will sign players. So love it, right? 60%. I don't know if you've seen this as well, Joe, just while we're talking about the American ownership, because it's just coming to my head. There was this thing on Wacko. I don't have Wacko, but someone mentioned that the reason we can't sign anyone is that Rudy Klein Thomas has not put in 100 million, and therefore the 49ers have had to do that themselves. And I was a bit like, I'm really sure that any sort of contract that will have been signed will have had a clause in there that said you must invest, because no one says we need 100 million from you, and they go, yeah, just I'll pay you whenever, and you go, yeah, it's 100. It's not a tenner between your mates; it's 100 million. So I don't know where that's come from.
The investment pool before they're allowed to be an investor, and Rudy Klein Thomas is also an employee as well as an investor.
Yeah, it's wild.
So I don't believe that. And come here, if that is the case, if he didn't put in 100 million that he was supposed to, and the 49ers have, then that negates the 100 million conversation, but they haven't. And again, I had a guy a couple of weeks ago on my channel who was bombarding the comment section saying Creswell was a liability, needed to go because he had a gambling problem. I'm like, what? Nothing. There's nothing out there about that at all, and it's dangerous to make comments like that because they're not true. They're borderline slanderous, to be completely honest about it. There's no facts to back that kind of stuff up. These are wild takes on things that prove it.
I can understand a tenner, mate, but 100 million. No. Do you imagine that phone call saying, have you got that 100 million? And he's like, nah, not yet.
If that was the case, do you not think the Athletic would be running with that? Do you not think the BBC would be running with that? If that was the actual case, that's a huge, huge deal. If you've not
Mental.
done that, that would be everywhere.
Exactly. It'd be mental. Roberto De Zerbi on Brighton's interest in Leicester midfielder Dewsbury Hall. I don't know anything about him, i.e. the proposed deal. I know him as a player. He has great quality, but it's not my business speaking about others' clubs' players. So what he meant is, when he said I don't know anything about him, he meant the actual deal itself. But we know that that's taken care of by Brighton. The managers don't really have a say. Brighton have their recruitment model and will say to him, this is the man that we want. Right, I think we'll leave it there, Joe, because we've done an hour and 5 minutes, but it's been a great chat with loads in there. Thank you to everyone who's interacted. Hopefully got through a lot of your comments. And I'll probably be live later on. Like I say, I'm going to be locked in and loaded now. My sleep will take a hit, but there's just 4 days left now: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then, you know, it'll be back to some normality. But, you know, things are going to happen, and they're going to happen quick. So make sure you've got notifications on. Make sure you also follow Joe. And I actually got a notification on my dashboard this morning. Congratulations, Joe. You hit 200 members. I have over 200 members on the channel, 203 to be precise, which is absolutely insane. So thank you all so much for that. What I am going to do when this when the window's over is create a members like phone-in show, like something like that. So people, if you remember, I can put it in your members only post. You could come in, have your thoughts, positive, negative, agree with me, disagree with me. I know it's been done before on other channels. We tried to do it on All Leeds TV. But sometimes you get idiots calling in, just saying random things. So the fact that it's exclusive to members, the video will be public, but only members can hit the link to come in and have the point, because they're members for a reason, right? But yeah, watch this space. But thanks for watching the video. Make sure you check out Joe again. And yeah, we'll see you in a bit. I'm going to end it there now, folks. Thank you now. Enjoy your day.